Okay, so the 32 Lincoln, assembled all the top of the engine, which is a lot easier said than done. Just torquing up all the conrod bolts, because there's 6 bolts on each journal, and you've got to torque them up, wiggle them in and out to get a split pin through the castellated nut and that hole there.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so came to the last one of the last ones to do, and it snapped in half. Which is, you can tell by the look of it, it's fatigue from previous somewhere or the other. So it's stretched the threads and broken it.
So you jump online to find a new one?
You're not going to find a new one. So having our lathe and our milling machine, and Robin, somebody who can make things, made us a nice new bolt out of a hardened bit of steel. So that's kind of what we have to do sometimes, because you're not going to find one. But luckily Robin's got the skills to do it, and I mean, the machinery I've got, the lathe and the milling machine, is old and antiquated, but it works. You know, it's not aerospace technology you're trying to achieve, but it's still pretty damn good from nothing, you know.
So where's that start from? What sort of thing did you make that from?
Oh, a bigger hardened bolt. So that's a hardened bolt. So it'll come out something like that. Chop it down, machine the head down, make that, machine it down to your size there, because that's quite critical, because it holds the rod. Put the thread on it, put the chamfer on the end, and put the hole in it to take the split pin. But luckily, like I say, Robin's got more patience than me on things like that. So I've just got to pop these back in, torque this last one up, split pin it, and then get the, well, again, say it's easy, get the sump on, which isn't easy. Because there's all sorts of stupid things in there. So we'll have to go underneath now and going in.
He's going in.
So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 pistons on each one. So that's your fork and your blade conrod, like we said before, yeah?
Okay.
But one of the bolts snapped, so we've got to put those back in. You've got to make sure that that shouldered piece is down in its groove properly. So he's pulling in, that one isn't. Right. So what it is, you've got to get that flat lined up with the edge on the conrod. So if you try and pull that down, it won't pull in properly, yeah?
Okay.
Right, that's gone. That's gone, so that's good. Torque to me. So let's rotate that back a little bit. That's tight enough. Yeah. Right. Well, that's those 4. Just got to do the other 2 now. Now you do them up to your torque setting, but because the castellated nut slot might not line up with the split pin hole, then you have to back them off or tighten them up very slightly either way. So that's all 24 of them done up, torqued and split pinned. Right, so now we've got to sort out all our sump stuff. Right, so they're clearly different, yeah? So that one is the one we want for the first fixing, because you've got that strainer goes on, yeah? So obviously if that goes up that way, you can't get to those 2, so that doesn't go that way. It must go that way. oil pipeline, so that must be your float arrangement, because you don't have a dipstick, you have a float that goes on the oil with a pointer rod that goes up inside. And that's your oil pickup tube, so that goes on the oil pump at the front once this is in, and that, so when the oil level goes up and down, that rod goes through to a marker on the side of the engine, but we'll have to wait till it's down, And let's have a look where the hole is. Right, okay, I can see the hole, so that's not the end of the world. So let's put the gasket on first. Right, so that'll stay there. Just 2 bolts for that, 2 nuts, 2 washers. Right, so nothing threads into the engine, so the float goes in there. All we've got to do is mount it on those 2 for the moment. But basically that is your oil filter.
Okay, alright.
Just that gauze, yeah? Now I've got to try and wiggle that bit of wire out of a stupid little hole at the top there.
Can't be done.
Yeah, I can do anything. Right, so that is at that angle there. I would imagine it's that angle there, so let's try and see.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I thought you said I've got to try and get this first attempt straight in the hole.
Yeah.
She cried.
She cried. Square at the front, round at the back.
So it's like a double gasket.
Yeah, to hold the screen. Right, so that's that lot in, that's all located, that's tight, that's tight. Right, now we've got to get about a gazillion washers. Okay, you started?
Yeah.
That's fine, thank you mate.
No worries.
No bother. Big ears, where it goes, big nose.
I ain't got big ears or big nose, or a big cock come to that matter, so...
Oh, he was hung like a Klingon. I'm very bored with this.
So what's left to do then?
So I'll bolt that up. I don't like that pipe, so I'll straighten all that out before it goes back in, but I've got to block that one off when we fire it, because that's drawing vacuum and it runs the wiper motors, which aren't fitted at the moment. Do up the bottom hose, put water in it, which is a see what happens job.
Yep.
Put oil in it, charge the battery up, fit the exhaust, see what happens basically. Yeah.
So I've had a customer recently ask about what warranty would be available with a rebuild of a gearbox. Have you come across a warranty on any restoration work before?
Not realistically, no, because you're dealing with old parts. Alright, it's on a gearbox, as we said. We've got a complete bearing kit and gasket set for it.
Yeah.
So you could say if a bearing fails, there's some comeback there. But when you consider everything in that gearbox is second hand,
yeah,
it's been used. I mean, I suppose, as I said to you earlier, if it was a gearbox specialist, they might be able to crack test everything and see if there's any damage to any of it. I mean, visually you can look at a cog and see if there's any tooth damage or anything like that. But if it's got a hairline crack in it or something that you can't see, you can't guarantee that part.
Yeah.
Unless you go down the whole line of, as I say, crack testing everything, doing this, doing that. So new parts, yeah, I suppose you could give a guarantee on it for 1,000 miles or something like that. It wouldn't be very long. Again, the gearbox we're talking about is off a 4-cylinder car. You're putting a V8 on it, which has got a lot more torque. It's a grey area, isn't it? It's a hard one to know. So if anybody out there's got any ideas, give us a shout.
But if you've got new parts in the gearbox, if there's something in that gearbox which is worn or faulty, that may affect the new part that in
definitely.
there. And
that's why nothing is sold. You don't buy a new gearbox, you get a reconditioned gearbox.
Yeah.
That's where your wording has to be correct. It's reconditioned. You can't say that it's a brand new gearbox.
Yeah.
It's because that's where people get in trouble with saying things like that.
Because we stand by our work, but at the same time,
of course you do. I suppose if you drove it down the road and after 2 miles it blew up, then yeah, you got some sort of recourse on it.
Normal operation, but it's racing. Generally racing, you give no warranty at all, because
he's showing a car that he wants to race at Pendine Sands.
Yeah.
Everything that you see, not for race, not for all the things that are labelled up are just basically, if you take it down a racetrack and blow it up, it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's not designed for that.
But you say, if you drive 2 miles down the road and it blows up, bring it back, and what about 3 miles? What about 4 miles?
Yeah, exactly. How far do you go?
Yeah.
75 yards.
Yeah.
The old 75-yard guarantee.
That's it.
Something like this, 1932, you can't guarantee anything. You just can't. It's a 900-year-old car. There's not nobody in their right mind's going to give a guarantee on any of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that box is, Robin, do you?
91, 92. It's a relatively new gearbox.
Well, it isn't, is it?
But
you work it out, it's 25, 35, 40-year-old gearbox nearly.
Yeah.
So
what about Formal's work on the block?
I won't give any guarantee at all.
And that's been pressure tested, gone through every single part.
Yeah. See, and that's an awful lot of money spent on that, and
Yeah.
they won't guarantee it at all. Nothing.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's an old car. It's a 1930s car.
Cast iron's such a pain in the arse metal.
Yeah.
Kevin understands that, because it's a crystalline metal, and it hots, it gets hot, it gets cold, it gets oil in it, and it's just a bloody horrible metal to work with. It's not stable. Well, it's stable in that sense, but you're heating it and cooling it and doing all the work that's been done on it, it just can lose stability.
It's a hard thing with old stuff, guarantees, isn't it? A brand new car out of the box, you go drive down the road and the engine blows up, yeah, you got some callback on it. But something like this, or a gearbox, when you say it's a relatively new, it's still 40 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Best part of 40 years old, you forget about these things.
Yeah.
You don't know how hard a life it's had.
No, exactly.
Could have had the shit kicked out of it,
Yeah.
You can't say it's a fully rebuilt, good as new gearbox. You have to say it's reconditioned with second-hand parts.
Yeah.
New bearings, but second-hand internals. And if the main shaft breaks that he's got from wherever he got it from, Australia, that's not down to you. It's just broken. It's a bit like the bolt on that. What'd you say? We'll phone Lincoln from 1932. No, ain't gonna happen. You've got to make one. So, yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?